This will be the longest hangout ever.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're doing a hangout, which isn't something we often do, but I have a very special guest, an old-time friend of mine. We go back many, many years, and his name is Zeke Stout. And if you haven't heard of the new television show Master of Arms, you need to Google it, because if you've watched Forged from Fire, and I'm not even like this super uber knife guy, if you've watched Forged from Fire, this is the ultimate evolution of it, because it mixes edged weapons with firearms. Zeke, tell us what it's about, man.
So and by the way, you made us sound so old. You're like an old-timey friend of mine.
I know, we're going way back to early days of YouTube, like 2006,
7 years ago. Yeah, that's crazy. So Master of Arms, it's a competition weapon show, and we take three of the best craftsmen in the world of their field, whether it's gunsmithing, archery, being a bowyer, or bladesmithing, and surprise, guess what you get to build? So right. Like the first episode we had, the first round, the three guys get a European battle axe. They're all stoked. They make the battle axe. We pick the guy that's going home first. Two guys get to go forward. And then all of a sudden, Ashley, our historian, goes, hey, lifts up the box. You got to attach it to a flintlock pistol. And they didn't show the looks on their faces as well on the first episode, but the looks were just like, oh my God. But they did amazing stuff. One of the guys was a gunsmith. He does the historic gunsmithing at Colonial Williamsburg. Mm-hmm. Dresses in the art and everything, and he did an amazing flintlock axe pistol. He's the one that won.
Was he the one that had the long handle?
Yeah. Because
one guy put the axe handle on the rear end of it.
On the back, like, yes.
What?
the moment I saw that, I was like, oh my God, really?
Yeah. Maybe he was thinking it was a brace.
Yeah, and I understood the reason he did it. It just was, Dustin, I'm sorry if you see this, but it was a bonehead move.
Yeah. I mean, anybody that shoots knows you don't want an edged weapon behind your firing hand where the recoil is going to take place.
Forces things into your body.
Yeah. So I saw that. I was like, oh no. But you know what's funny is his held up better. I saw he put that brass pin or whatever through it. Yeah. The other guys kind of broke a little bit. I don't want to ruin it for people, guys. If you can't, if you haven't watched it,
that's true.
Go watch it. Just Google Master of Arms. You can actually watch the episodes free on the internet. That's where I watched them, on the website. Nope. And there's two episodes out there right now. One of them is the Joan of Arc sword and the axe pistol. You had the flail or mace ball or whatever you call that thing. I'm not a
ball and chain flail. Yeah.
Ball and chain flail. And what was the other weapon with that one?
The Joan of Arc sword was after the ball and chain. Okay. Yep.
So, yeah, it's really interesting stuff. So I have some questions because I know Doug, and Doug and I had only met a few times from Forged from Fire, and we'd met at SHOT Show. We'd shook hands. I never really had a conversation with Doug, so I knew him in passing. I know. So I have questions about how these shows are done. I think a lot of us know. I mean, even in YouTube, I think we produce videos much in the same way that Hollywood and Discovery produce videos. But there's certain questions about the show that I have, and again, if I get into something that you can't answer, just
absolutely,
shut up. Just remember, I have a picture of you urinating at a McDonald's.
That's true.
That's about 7 or 8 years old.
It is. Right. That's bad. That was like within 30 minutes of us meeting each other. That's the scary part.
This is a good story. So you thought I was like this super dry, not like just this dead serious dude.
Yep.
And my videos kind of felt that way, I think, back in those days. And then when you saw me do that, you're like, dude, you're totally different than what I thought.
That's exactly what I said. Because I was expecting this uber professional. Like, I thought when you got off camera, you put on a suit and tie and went to an executive job. And then within the first 10 minutes, we're busting each other's chops. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun. So
that was a fun trip. All right, so here's a question. So I know with the other show, and I don't want to go too much into that. Are you guys competitive? Are you competitive with the Forged from Fire guys? Do you run into each other?
There is a sense of competition just because we have a lot of Forged in Fire fans that are kind of jumping on us and going, "Oh, it's a ripoff of Forged in Fire."
No,
Me personally, I'm a fan of Forged in Fire. I like the show.
Yeah.
Kind of what I tell people is spaghetti's great. Everybody likes spaghetti. But to make spaghetti better, you kind of want to add some sauce and meatballs. So Forged in Fire is great, but we're kind of adding some sauce and meatballs to it. So
yeah, I think
I think it's a great show. We're adding guns and archery. So, and I know they've got an archery episode coming soon, or already has, or something like that. So.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to expand a little bit. I think they're kind of running out of stuff to do because they kind of pigeonholed themselves a little bit. And that's what's so cool about Master of Arms is even by the title, man, you can go from way back when to present, right? You can do pretty much anything.
We can build a trebuchet if we want.
Oh, dude, that would be so. That's something that I always wanted to build, man. My brother-in-law built one for a college project, and we were launching tennis balls with it, but it was only about 3 feet. I want to build one that's like 30 feet tall, and I can throw wagons at my neighbor's house. So in the Forged from Fire, I was watching an after the show thing, and again, I'm not this real big. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. What knife are you carrying? What knife do you have on you?
I actually, on me right now, I've got a cheap little Taurus one that I got from our friend, Iraq veteran, 8888.
Oh, cool, man. You've gotten into knives.
I said that sounded horrible. I got this cheap knife that Eric gave me. Jeez, no, I didn't mean it like that.
It's a nice knife.
I usually carry a Manix XL, the Spyderco.
Yeah.
But this was close to the bedside table when I was getting up this morning to go get breakfast before I hopped on here with you. So
what is it with men and gun guys? We all carry knives, we all do. So this is what I put on today. I'm into the fixed blade and automatics. This is a Essie, a little 4-inch blade, but the spine on this thing's really heavy, and it's just a really good knife. And I have a nice little Kydex sheath for it. All right. So anyway.
I missed out on a comedy moment just then. I could have said, I'm carrying this kukri.
That's awesome, dude. Kukris are awesome. That one looks authentic. That doesn't look like a Cold Steel reproduction, man. That looks like the real deal.
It's not a Cold Steel, but it's not the real deal. It's not a real Gurkha.
No. Okay.
I didn't get it handed down from a monk.
You can buy real ones from overseas. There's some dudes selling them. But So one of the questions I had, because I know from watching an after hours show about Forged from Fire, because that really has kind of funny. I've always carried a pocket knife and always been into knives, but never really loved knives. That show has helped me more into loving knives. So I started watching the after hours stuff. And so one of the things they talked about is one of the hosts of the show actually makes the weapons that are used as the display pieces that are used as examples for the contestants to go forth and build.
It's got to be Dave Baker, isn't it?
It is Dave Baker, yeah.
Yeah, that guy is a genius, man.
Yeah. He's cool, man. He's just he just exudes cool.
He is.
So he's the guy making the weapons. So who's making the weapons for you guys? I mean, they're so diverse. It'd almost be hard to have one person doing it.
The example weapons?
Yeah. Are you getting them out of Ashley's museum? Ashley's.
So the next season, we're probably going to have more coming through Ashley. A lot of this stuff, was a whirlwind leading up to it. I mean, you and I had a few conversations leading up to it.
Yeah.
Where it was like, hey, this might happen, this might not happen. Guess what, guys? You're flying out in 2 weeks. What? So Ashley didn't have a chance either to get anything set up with her museum because there's a lot of, paperwork and different things they have to do. But we had Tortuga Trading Company. I think he's out of Florida. Sean Rich, that's his name. I was trying to remember his name, but he sent a lot of his samples up and examples.
Okay. So these are historic pieces.
Yeah. They were. Some of them were repros, but the majority of them were historic pieces, and we had to have the white glove treatment to them and everything. So
that's really cool. That's really cool. That's even cooler than what Forged from Fire's doing. Get on your game, guys. All right.
You know what's really cool? I've got the comments from the live feed up on the right here, and somebody said, I'm not lying. This is no joke. I was actually watching Master of Arms when I got the notice for this live hangout.
That's awesome.
That's
Here
awesome.
you go, guys. You're talking to the actual host of the show. I got to figure out how to get the. I'm not a live hangout type of guy. I'm trying to figure out where the little chat window thing is here. You look at chat. I'll worry about talking. Oh, wait, here's the control panel. That screen share chat. There it is. Oh, got it.
There's.
Okay.
I had to pop up a whole new window to do it. To have it separate. Just make sure if you do it, mute your video on the YouTube side. Otherwise, you'll get the double audio.
I'll turn it off. All right. So one of the other things I've always wondered. So it seems like in these shows, man, that, you have like 5 hours. Of course, I get a phone call right in the middle of this, and I'm a Mac user. So when my phone rings, it's like my computer rings.
Pops up on your phone.
Yeah, my watch is ringing. Everything's ringing. But people, you give them, a set amount of time. You got 5 hours to complete this task. And every single episode of every show of this type I've watched, somebody has had something at the end of the 5 hours, and it's always everybody's working right up to the last second.
Yeah.
Does it always happen that way, or does some dude just like totally loses stuff and like I got nothing?
We filmed 8 episodes and we've seen everything. So we've seen somebody that is just like, he gets down and he's like, screw it, I'm not gonna finish. And I mean, he still works. He didn't quit, but you could tell on his face he's like, there's no way I'm getting done. We've also seen where all 3 people are working to the very last second, and I have to yell tools down, and they're like, and they put it down, and they're not quite done. Still makes it through. So we've seen the gamut, but the majority of them, all 3 people are doing it. There was a couple, and I don't know if it'll be edited this way, where one guy was just a master. I mean, all of them are masters.
Yeah.
There was a couple guys that were just, and you would have thought, 3 hours in, he could have made a cup of coffee and sat there and watched them.
Yeah. Well, there was one episode on Forged from Fire where that dude did do that. He like finished his task and he's just sitting back like, do. But I can't remember if he won or not. When you get that cocky, it's pretty easy to, lose. So that's one of the things I always wondered about. The hair, dude. Who's doing your hair for the show? Because your hair now is not like the hair on the show.
My hair on the show was a little puffy. I didn't realize it looked like that until I saw it, and I was like, "Wow, my hair." Okay, no, we had
you got hair, man. I mean,
we had stylists and I had to wear makeup.
I knew it.
But I had to wear makeup, and I'm so sweaty. Anyways, you can see how I'm already kind of shiny now.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like when it got warm up there. Every 20, 30 minutes, the makeup lady had to run out and pat me down and get all the sweat off and then come back out. And we had a stylist.
What state are you filming in? Is it
we filmed in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, it was weird because we got there the beginning of April and it was freezing. I mean, absolutely freezing every day. And then about halfway through filming, it started warming up and it went from freezing to smoldering. And plus, we're in a steel warehouse with forges burning down below us, and heat rises, of course, and we're up near a steel roof, so it wasn't fun up where we were.
Yeah.
But it got hot in there.
That's pretty cool. So Pennsylvania, I always wondered about that. So you guys, just so people understand how these shows are produced, so you guys, you fly out and you're on set and you're filming all these things back to back until you're done, and you got a whole season filmed, right?
Yep,
it's not like
exactly.
It's not like every month you fly out and film 1 or 2, and it's like a year-long thing. You film a whole season. How long does it take to film a season?
It took us, and this is the first season, so it was only 8 episodes. It took us 5.5 weeks to do 8 episodes. I mean, we were going balls to the wall every day, 15, sometimes 16-hour days.
Yeah.
And the way we did it was we'd film the first part and then the guys go to their workshop. When we send them to the workshop for 4 days, we start another couple of episodes. Yeah. And then we send them. So it's a rotation of people going in and out of the workshop and a rotation of us starting another episode. So it was intense. But it was worth it. It's come out pretty well.
Good, man. I hope it actually it does quite well for you, because I'd love to see it continue on, because actually I find it more interesting.
Oh yeah.
Than the competitive product. So here's a question I've always wondered.
Yeah.
How emotional have some of the contestants? I realize you've only filmed 8 episodes so far,
Yeah.
but how emotional have some of the contestants been when you had to let them go?
You could see it on their face. I think I was more emotional because
Yeah,
that first time Shrek
that has to be hard. Yeah.
Oh, so the first episode was actually the first episode we filmed too. The rest of them aren't in the same order we filmed. But when I let Shrek go, my heart like dropped to my heels. I was just like, oh my God. And, we make sure we talk to him afterwards. Thanks for coming. Dude, you did awesome. Because it's kind of becoming like a new professional sport. Everybody says in the NFL, any given Sunday, any team can beat any team. This is the same way. We had people come out that were top of the line in their field. And a guy that, may have been doing this 2 or 3 years worked his butt off and actually beat the guy. There things like that happened in this. And we told Shrek, look, you did an amazing job. We had criteria that we had to go by, and first was functionality, and that axe, it just kind of felt more like a sledgehammer instead of a cutting device. Yeah. So, it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. When I said on the show I couldn't wait to get my hands on it, I really couldn't, because I saw it. I was like, oh, that looks so cool. It's just, it didn't meet all the parameters. So, but yeah, you see the emotion on their face. But the cool thing that really happens, and I don't think anybody from Forged or any of these shows, when you have the cooking shows, you see all the drama and people like getting at each other. With the Craftsman world, it's a brotherhood. Yeah. And you see a lot of these guys, like, you think these guys are going to tear each other apart, but no, they end up helping each other.
I've seen that. Yeah.
You see he's struggling over here, she's struggling over there, and you'll see them come together. And then when they get let go, they're hugging each other. You don't see any animosity. You definitely see I didn't make it, but it's not like a jaded feel. It's just like a dang, I just didn't win this time kind of thing.
Yeah. And I know what you're talking about, man, because my wife watches those crazy cooking shows, and sometimes I'm forced to have to like sit there. Right. It's drama. And even the host is running around and creating some of the drama, and it's just for me, maybe women just love drama. I don't. And I get a kick out of that. How, some of the guys will stop if somebody's having problems or they're looking for particular material. They'll say, hey man, I found it over here and stuff. And that is kind of cool. It's definitely a different type of atmosphere than what you typically see. One of the things I noticed though, so like your demeanor is a little bit different than other hosts of the shows, which is expected. But if you go back to where kind of this all really started, this reality TV. Remember Survivor, man, and the host was like, "You get out of here now!"
Right.
It was like, "You suck, leave." And and now it's more like, there's that false like pause, and like dun, Eric, you're the new master of arms. Yep. And so it's a little bit more muted, because I really, it was kind of a turnoff to me watching them like yell at these people that have just been through hell and back, and they're like, and they're not really yelling, but they're just being, like they're drill instructors or something,
Well, and one of the cool things that we got to do was, the majority of the show is unscripted. There's some scripted things that, because it's a game show with money prize, there has to be legal things that I have to say a certain way. When I say you will have 4 hours, I have to say it exactly like that. And it's more a legal thing. But we were trying to think, how do I let people go? And I told them right off the bat, the exact same thing you're talking about. I said, I don't want to be that guy that's like, you suck, get out, So if you notice, I say, it did not win this battle. Please take your weapon and leave the armory. And I always got to say, with honor. And that was the coolest thing to me. And every contestant that we talked to afterwards loved that we did that. Yeah. Because it's like, you didn't suck, dude. You made an awesome weapon. You just had 2 people that did better.
Right.
And with 6 hours, come on.
I know. And that's why I find it hard to believe, because when you did that the chain flail, and then you said, and you're going to have to build the chain. Even I went, really? Yeah. Geez. That I'm not a an iron worker, but even I know that takes some serious time, adds serious time to an already difficult task of making that spiked ball and, getting the jeans. So I was wondering, I mean, do they really have to stick to that timeline? So when you say you have 5 hours, there's no retakes, right?
Nope.
I mean,
no, the only thing that there might be retakes is if while we're watching them up on the catwalk, we say something that's pertinent to what's said, but the audio didn't come across. They're still having to work their 5 hours. We might refilm. Like I say, hey, he just broke, his blade, but I say it too quiet. So then we may go up there and I say it again.
Right. So you'll do some new voiceover stuff.
Yeah, it's not like he broke his blade, let's let him fix it and give him an extra hour. No, there's the legal again. I mean, if we say they've got 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever it is, it has to be that. Same thing when they go to the other workshop. It's 10 hours each day for 4 days. And once that 10 hours is up, stop, put everything down. You can't touch it anymore. And
so there's
they
a
go
crew
back to
there with them, right? Obviously, there's a film crew. So there's a production manager there too to keep everybody honest.
Absolutely.
That's pretty interesting.
And everything they touch and everything they do is filmed. So there's no way for them to sneak around and cheat.
So
as evident by Dustin peeing in a can to quench his prison.
Hey, thinking outside the box, man.
Exactly.
So one thing that, so you've been pretty much everything in terms of the social media sphere. You've been a very popular podcast. You've done the YouTube thing, and now you're doing the television thing.
Yep.
There's one thing from the YouTube days and probably the podcast days is when you're doing your intro and your outro and cutscenes. When you're talking, you screw up.
Oh yeah.
So there has to be some pretty funny bloopers out there somewhere where you're introducing the guests. And because at first you said you just had 2 weeks and boom, here you are. So you don't even know the people you're working with yet. So you may even call them by the wrong name. Ashley becomes Angel. It's like, so were there a lot of that? Was there a lot of that? Was there a lot of cut, take it over, and then were the contestants laughing? And I mean,
there was a few moments where I got to be me on the funny side and bust their chops a little bit with the contestants. I hear there might be a couple of those moments that come out even this week. This week is the long rifle, and all 3 contestants' name were Mike. And I played with that a little bit in the first testing. So, and then there was your typical flubs. Where like I just did, instead of saying I said stuff like that it just happens, and that's the kind of stuff that we'll retake later or something like that.
That's cool.
But if it happens during the competition, you really can't. So they have got to figure out a way to do that. But yeah, there's tons of them, and there's lots of funny moments that just didn't fit. Because anybody that watched Talking Lead or listens to Talking Lead or my radio show with Vanessa in Nashville, know I'm a goof off. I'm a big goofball.
Oh, I know that.
So I did a lot of that, and it was funny at the time. But then once we started talking about the editing, it just didn't fit what the show is. So there might be a few that squeak in here and there. But for the most, like when I say I can't wait to get my hands on your axes, the whole set died laughing on that one. Yeah, but they made it come across pretty serious, but it was still funny to everybody else.
That's pretty funny. I didn't think about that because you're in the YouTube world. When I go on set, it's me and Jason, right? I have the camera, and sometimes I'll have people like when we invite suppressor companies to come out. I'll have suppressor companies there watching us doing the metering, and every once in a while we'll have somebody on set with us. But most often it's just me and Jason, and it's a very comfortable thing for me. After 10 years of doing it, you turn the camera on and boom, I go into YouTube mode, right? So you're used to that. You're used to the YouTube side, and really you did a lot of the editing and stuff with Talking Lead, and you're used to all that on a much smaller scale. Now you walk into a set that I can only imagine has people everywhere just off camera. So is there a lot more pressure?
There wasn't pressure as much as it was geeking out to it. Like the first thing I walked in, and the director of photography looked at me like I was some kind of weird pariah, because I guess they're not used to talent coming in and knowing some of the stuff they had. I walked on the set and I was like, wow, the set's amazing. And I looked down to the corner and I was like, "Oh my God, that's the brand new Phantom." And he looked at me like, "How do you know what that is?" I was like, "Oh, dude, that's like the high speed God right there, you know."
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
like every YouTuber's dream, and none of us can afford it.
yeah, exactly. And just in between shoots and stuff, or when we would in between the first competition and the second, so when we would have time to go back to the control room where everybody else is watching footage, I'm watching the editing and I'm watching like the camera stuff, because it was like we've got our one computer and our one camera and our memory disk. They've got a bay of screens just everywhere with keyboards everywhere and these dials, and I'm like, holy cow. So yeah, I didn't really actually, I'll take that back. The very first day, the first 30 minutes of shooting, I felt the pressure, but it went away pretty easy. And we had a great executive producer that was our showrunner. That was just, I mean, he knew how to put us all at ease. So
cool.
That helped a lot too.
I'll never forget my biggest. So when I first felt a lot of pressure, because when I started off on YouTube, everybody starts off with just you, a camera, and a tripod, and even then it's like, hey guys, welcome back. We have a gun today. You haven't found your pace. You don't have your personality yet, and you're nervous, even though you're by yourself with a camera. You still think a million people are watching you.
Yeah.
But I forgot my train of thought there. I was going somewhere.
Geeking out to cameras, being pressure.
But yeah, it's
finding your groove.
Where I first felt that pressure was SHOT Show. Right. So I went to the first SHOT Show. So here I am, a guy that does everything on a tripod, all by myself in a room. Back then I had this really horrible backdrop, and so I go to SHOT Show, and it's me and my friend Aaron, and he's doing the camera work, and we set up a tripod at a booth. And the minute you put a camera on and mic up, boom. I mean, there's a mob of people around you, all wanting to see what's going on. Like, ooh, what are they doing?
Yep.
And I just froze. I was like, I can't do this. Let's just come back later. There's too many people. Let's just come back later. I couldn't do it.
So a lot of people don't. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Where I can ignore. Well, I'm just going to say, eventually it got to the point where I don't care if there's a million people around me. I immediately go into Mac mode, and they don't even exist, and I just talk to the camera, and it's But it's really weird because that first time, man, it's stage fright. It's that. Yeah. I can't perform. These people, what if I flub up? They're judging me. But anyway, go ahead.
So I have an example of that, and a lot of people don't know this, but towards the end of my tenure with Talking Lead, the Scoutins from Shooting USA approached me about doing some stuff with them. So I was going to do this, side gig, guest, analyst, host, whatever you want to call it, for Shooting USA on Outdoor Channel. And my test run was NRA in Nashville. They had just released the Glock 43. And he was like, hey, that'll be your first one. You go and talk about the Glock 43. Be yourself, be goofy, blah, blah, blah. Well, with Talking Lead, we usually had like a little DSLR camera on a mount, or even just on a tripod we carried around. And then a little bitty like shotgun boom mic. Nobody really stopped for this. Well, Shooting USA has the big shoulder rigs and the lighting. I get to the Glock booth, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. All right, I'm ready. Nobody's around. They turn that light on, and the camera comes up, and it was the same thing. It was like people, and it wasn't like people standing back. They were right on top of me, just going, who are you? What are you doing? So, and I know I'd never seen the footage. I never wanted to see it. But I know, like, my shirt just started drenching with sweat. It was just like, because my old shtick was I'd have a suit jacket with a T-shirt underneath it. And I looked down afterwards, and I was just like, it was two different color shirts all of a sudden. I was like, oh. But yeah, that was rough. But the same thing. Once you find your groove, it's just kind of, you're being yourself at that point.
Right.
And before you're trying to do something else.
Has everybody kind of found their groove with Master of Arms? Are you guys all comfortable in your roles? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did 8 episodes this season. What's the goal next season? You going to do 16 or 12 or?
From all the stuff that I've heard, if we get season 2, which I got a soapbox I'll get on later about that.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. Yeah.
If we get season 2, it'll be anywhere from 15 to maybe 22 episodes.
Oh wow!
So almost double what we did.
Do you do it like like a lot of the shows now? When I was a kid back, during the Civil War, they would do television shows, and you'd have, a season that would run 12 consecutive episodes. Then you had to wait practically half a year before you got, more. Now they do half seasons. They have a season, they have a break, they have a season. So you have it's not as long of a wait between the seasons. Is that what you guys are doing, or are you guys just doing one long season?
For season one. And then I think maybe if we get like the 22, it might be a split up kind of thing. It would have to be, because we were gone for 5.5 weeks for 8 episodes, and none of us want to leave our families for more than double that. So I think it'll probably be film some, leave, film some again, something like that.
Wow. That's crazy, man. So how do you like it? I mean, it was a big step. I remember talking about it. And so some of the stuff that I said, be cautious of. Yeah. Did it happen? I mean,
none of it. The initial, well, actually, I don't know if it could have, because a lot of the advice you gave me, and we won't go into too depth, I used, and it worked out for me.
Good. So, awesome, man. Because I've been through some of those interviews, you know, and for past shows, and I got the email too, and I decided I don't want anything to do with television. I don't think you're a much better fit, man. I'm not a television guy. I mean, would I go on a television show? Yeah, but being a host, man, it's not me. I don't have the personality. When I first watched you walk out, I mean, they so nailed it when they picked you, man. And I'm not just saying that, but it's like, you have to have that. You have the presence, the voice, the comedy. Like, I tend to be too dry. You know, if you go watch my military arms channel videos, I try to do funny stuff. Like today, I got to go film a goofy thing I can't talk about for promotion. And it's killing me, man.
And I'm laughing because I know what it is, but I'm not going to say it.
You know what it is? Look, I'll show you a picture, man. This is funny.
You told me last night.
Let me see if I can get a picture up here that people can get an idea of what we're doing here. So that can you see what it is, right?
Oh yeah. I
got a teddy bear the size of my entire back seat of my Jeep. So
that's gonna be awesome.
and it's snowing today. So I wake up to go film this thing, and we have 3 inches of snow, and it's just coming down like crazy. So you
should have got a polar bear costume then.
Oh, dude. And I have to have it done. This is what people don't understand. It's like when you agree to do these things, and I'm just doing this as a favor. I'm not getting paid for this video. You know, it's like, okay, hey man, you know, can you film this tomorrow, edit tonight, and have it ready for launch tomorrow? It's like, seriously? And it has to be just like television. Like, we have plenty of time, guys. You know, we'll have it all done tomorrow. Like, what? No, this is way too hard. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. No, go for it.
No, I was just going to ask you, man. So if you could change like one thing about the show, if there's something that you could have your way, and I want to get you in trouble here, what would you want to see more on the show? What would you do to make the show more entertaining? Not that it's not already entertaining, because it is, but what would you do differently?
So from my personal opinion, and you know, I was more hardcore on this when we were leaving, because I didn't know what the edits were going to come out, and now that the edits are out, they look good. So I kind of I trust them at this point. But I'd like to see more of the personal side. You know, not necessarily, oh, show me Ashley, Trent, and Nick and who we are. I mean, because the show needs to be about the craftsman. I get that part is they nailed that part, but just show more of the real side, the human, us busting chops with the guys, and the guys laughing about it. And like, there's certain things that they may edit the guys to have more of a straight face, but in reality, you know, they laughed or they cracked a joke back with us or something like that. And I get why they do it. It made sense, and it came out awesome. Other than that, I mean, we were worried at first that it would explain why the people were going home, and we do a pretty clear job leading up to the let go. This is what we were looking for. So that's starting to get seen. Outside of that, man, it's going well. I think it'll just take all of us getting in our groove, the entire cast, the entire crew. And once that happens, we've got something real. I mean, it's already happened. We've got something really cool on our hands. And go. Yeah.
So I was curious about this from Forge from Fire. So when you take the old, like when somebody gets let go and they I don't remember. I watch all the shows, but I've watched so much Forge from Fire. They surrender their weapon and then they go home.
Yeah.
They surrender the weapon to you, right? Whatever it is.
Not on camera. We tell them take their weapon and leave the armory, and then as soon as they get off camera, one of the production assistants is there and they take it, and then I'm gonna cry. We have to destroy.
No, that's what I was gonna ask. You make a museum of them.
Yeah.
You gotta keep them.
Ashley's working on that. There's no guarantee that's gonna happen, but it was a when they laid it out for us on the liability side, we were like, yeah, I guess we kind of get that,
What liability is there? It's if you sign a waiver and you put it behind glass.
Yeah. Well, no, that is what we're working on now. Yeah, that's what we're working on. But before getting it all together, it was kind of like, what happens if we send somebody home with one of these cool things and then somebody steals it out of their house and then uses it to rob a bank or whatever, stuff like that.
Or if they go, crazy or something silly. So no, but I was wondering, because I didn't recall seeing them surrendering the weapons on the show. I just wanted to see if you kept them and was going to have like a museum of them and then be able to reference them in the future, or like do a behind the scenes, when the show takes off and becomes wildly popular, they have the after hours part, like you can show them again and say, hey, look at this, the stock split when we hit the pig with it,
Season 1, there'll be lots of pictures. After that, I think we're going to try to work out something like that, because Ashley is the curator for the Cody Firearms Museum in Wyoming. So, we've got a ready-made museum right there. So she's working on possibly getting a section set up if this keeps going through. So
I'm going to have to ask a question. I'm happily married, but a lot of guys are going to ask this question, want to know, is Ashley single?
She is not. She is actually marrying Mark Hanish in less than a month. He's one of the VPs for Surefire.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So Surefire sent me a flashlight, like so many do. You get these unsolicited things, and so I got this new Surefire.
Oh yeah.
And at first I was like, what is this? It looks like a coffin. I'm like, not interested.
It does.
And I don't know if I have the box here, but it comes with a charging cable, so it's a USB chargeable light. But I use flashlights every single day, and this one is so stinking cool. Because you can push this button, it'll tell you what your power level is. So green means it's fully charged. This one you have 3 settings. You can push it 3 times, so it gets brighter and brightest. And then it just turns off. So you can go 2 clicks, get to that setting, hold it, and then you push it one more time, it goes off. And then on the back, it's 650 lumens. You can just fire it off.
Oh wow!
And so once I started using it, because I use it for like reading serial numbers on guns, and I'm in gun stores every single day. I mean. We do our rounds. Like I'm getting ready to go down to James Yeager to Camden to film a 5,000 round torture test of the new Century Arms AK.
Nice.
So
that'll be fun.
I know, right? And I said, well, hey, James, I got, Century sent him a rifle. I said, I bought mine through distribution. Can I bring my rifle and we'll torture mine and we'll put the same number of rounds to it? And he's like, I don't know, but I'm bringing the rifle. I'm going to try.
Nice.
You know me, man. Yeah. So yeah, I'm this little guy, man, because I'm always looking. Do I have one around here? Yeah. So like, here's a rifle I recently picked up. It's a birthday. It's a World War I French rifle in 8x50, and so it came into a local gun store. I couldn't believe the quality of it. Nice. And so when you're looking at serial numbers, you'll take a light. I do, and I just want a low light so I can look at the patina. Because if you put a super bright light on steel, it'll look terrible.
Right.
Like if you shine a bright white light in the back of your mouth, you're going to swear you have oral cancer.
Oh yeah.
And then you put a lower light, and then it's like, oh, it's just red back there, But same thing with a gun, you put a really bright light on it, and it'll just wash everything out, and the finish will look horrible. And then if you want a slightly brighter light, you can click it twice, and now you can see the serial numbers. You can check the bore. Sure. Anyway, I don't know. So she's marrying a dude that makes a really cool light. I love this thing. Thanks, Surefire.
And speaking of your finds, I saw your post of your Type 14, and I almost vomited. I was like, oh my God. Why do people do that?
I know. It let me know the guys what we're talking about.
ah!
So that would be a cool episode. Restore this really screwed up weapon from World War II. That
Get the chrome off.
So let me see if I can find that picture. So we it's horrible. They said, "Hey, we got an Nambu in. You interested?" And then this is what I saw. And it's a chrome plated Type 14 early round trigger, not the extended trigger. And I was like, "Are you guys kidding me?"
It makes it look like one of those toy laser guns from like the 60s where they actually used metal. It just,
and they chromed over corrosion, and it's like flaking off.
Even worse.
But so I told them I'd give them $50 for it. They paid $100. I said, dude, you guys way overpaid. I'll give you $50 for it. When you're tired of seeing it hanging around, I'll give you $50 for it. It's going to cost me $400 to get it restored, but then I'll have a shooter, right? So I'm playing that game right now. So
gotcha. Well, cool, and that's the cool thing. And actually, this is a perfect segue for my soapbox.
Yes, I wanted you to get on your soapbox.
So with this show, the way we get season 2, season 3 is through ratings and people to watch it. And when I first was going on these interviews and I was, telling people, hey, make sure you watch, we got to get the ratings to get season 2, season 3. It was from a selfish perspective. I'll admit it. But as we got to do more and more Second Amendment community interviews, it really started hitting me how important this really is. Not just for having guns on TV again. That's cool. That's awesome. But for showing, because here's what I've learned in the last 8 months. TV people are business people first. No matter what their politics are, if you bring numbers to the table, they'll rock with it and they'll support it. We can show the TV people, and I'm not saying Discovery has been awesome. Our production company has been awesome, but there's other people in that industry that are like, gun show, it'll never make it.
Right.
The way we do that is we get people in our community to support it by watching it. And I get it. Not everybody wants to stay home at 9:00 Central, 10 p.m. Eastern on a Friday night. Well, turn your TV on. I mean, I'm probably not supposed to say it. Turn your TV on and leave the house. Turn it on Discovery. Get those ratings. Because
it's like YouTube. You can't tell them to.
Exactly. So here's what happens. Whether you like our show, whether you hate it, lots of people say, it's Forge and Fire ripoff, which it's not. But no matter what your opinion is on it, because we have firearms on TV again, on the largest cable network in the world, we have an opportunity to show them what the firearms community can do. Almost like I feel like it's become my hold my beer moment to the television industry. Watch what we can do. Because if we're successful and we get that season 2, guess what happens with all the other networks, including Discovery? They're like, oh, these firearm guys actually push stuff and get a lot of numbers up there. Let's get Military Arms Channel to do a TV show, and we'll pay them, $1 million a year. Yes. I don't get $1 million a year. I wish I did.
Well, I know how that works. Hopefully you'll be in season 5 and then you'll be doing well, I hope.
Yeah. So once they see the value that our community can provide, then that opens up the doors outside of just our show. They say, hey, the other networks are like, we've got to figure out a way to get a firearm show. We've got to figure out a way to get a weapon show, whatever it is, because that equals ratings. And we get a lot of people in our industry that were like, oh, cool, that sounds awesome. I'll DVR it and watch it in a month. Well, guess what? That doesn't help the ratings. And then when you go to watch it in a month, you've only got 3 episodes because it gets canceled. We're not in danger of that or anything. But it's an opportunity for us to go, hey, everybody that isn't a firearms person, look what we can do as a community for your business, for your company, what have you.
I think it's even bigger than that. First of all, I want you to explain how ratings work. So like, if I watch it on the website, like I did, does that count?
Yes. So
okay,
we'll have the live views on the TV. And then we'll have the initial ratings, which I think, don't hold me to this, but I think it's 24 hours after, like if somebody DVRs it or watches it on demand. Then we have +3s, which we get the following Wednesday, which is your onlines, your Discovery Go app, your iTunes, your Amazon, stuff like that.
Okay.
It looks better to the entertainment world to get those lives, but what you did still counts. It still is just as valid. It's just when Monday afternoon rolls around and all of a sudden we've got 2 million viewers, they're like, oh my God, how did that happen? Kind of thing. Cool. So that's kind of how the ratings work that way.
Okay.
And I still don't completely understand them.
Yeah, I know they're complicated. And that's why I kind of wanted to ask you how it's kind of sort of work. Yeah, it's quantum physics how they do it. It's like how they predict elections and never get them right. But but there's something else I think that's important about what you're doing with Master of Arms, and this is something that we've talked about in previous roles that you've had with other companies. It's normalizing firearms in the American culture.
Absolutely.
Because when, we were younger, I know I'm older than you, but when we were younger, it wasn't a question. Firearms were normal. I mean, I went to school with a gun in the truck. We had it in the back window and I parked in the senior parking lot and nobody cared. And we went hunting after school during deer season. You got
deer season, everybody's truck had rifles in them.
Well, yeah. And so, it just wasn't an issue, but now we have this counterculture that's trying to change American culture, erase American culture. If you take a look at just what they've done with trying to knock down Civil War memorials and statues, and they're trying to change the landscape of America and what made us America. You can't. That's what the Taliban does, man. So we need to bring people back to the realization that we do have a Second Amendment. It's not a bad thing. It's a tremendously important and good thing. And that people can have fun with firearms. Like they're over there. I don't want to go off camera, but my oldest son, he's being told at school that guns are bad, right? And they're being told, don't talk about guns or you're going to get detention or potentially kicked out of school. Don't talk about them. Don't wear T-shirts that have guns on them. Don't wear your Zeke Stout T-shirt to school. And it's like, seriously, come on. Like a shirt's a threat to anybody. But what they're trying to do is program the culture that guns are bad. Yeah. And so, my oldest son now has taken a profound interest in shooting. And so he's like, Daddy, and video games, and God bless video games, man. Video games are helping to keep that culture alive, just like television shows are. Yep. Television shows reach a slightly older audience. Video games are catching, kids when they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And, my son comes to me and goes, Daddy, I want to shoot a Mosin Nagant. I'm like, oh, buddy, that thing, it's a sub 6.2 by 54R. It's a big cartridge, buddy. It's a thumper. So I went out and found him a Circle 11 Polish made 22 trainer made in 1950 of a Mosin Nagant. So it's a real Mosin Nagant in 22.
22. Nice.
And so I'm keeping the culture alive. Even though my son's being told at school guns are bad, when he comes home and he'll ask me, he'll say, Daddy, I'm told that guns are bad, that they hurt people. And I explained to him, I said, guns aren't bad, Coley, people are bad. And it's the people you have to worry about, don't. Yeah. And so I think it's important, just getting back to what you're doing with Master of Arms, it's keeping the American culture alive and in a fun way. And maybe you're going to draw people in that may have thought that guns were evil. They're going to watch the show and go, man, that's kind of cool. I think I'm going to run down the local gun shop and pick one up. You know what I mean?
It's like you and I had this conversation. I think it was when we first met, when we went down to Eric's. At that time, the whole video game culture integrating into the firearms culture, there was a lot of people in the social media world. Oh, you're coming into guns because of freaking Call of Duty or whatever. Who cares? Right. If they get here and they do something stupid, then kindly correct them and say, hey, look, that's not actually what this is, or that's not actually how this works, or whatever. Don't tell them they're dumb because they got into guns because of this. We have a lot of people, not a lot. I think our industry is becoming more and more understanding of how things work in the greater picture. Saying, well, why aren't you doing modern guns? Are they scared to do? Well, no, really the reason we're not doing modern guns is because my 7-year-old can put together an AR in 10 minutes. That would be a very short episode. We're showing the craftsmanship and stuff. That also, because to get that craftsmanship, you got to go like World War I back. You're going to get people that are completely anti-modern weapons, but it's okay for, historical stuff.
Yeah.
If that gets the foot in the door, and then they come up to you and they're like, I didn't like guns at first, but I watched this Master of Arms show and I saw this long rifle episode and it's interesting. Can you tell me more? Jump on it. Don't jump on it and force feed every gun in the world down their throat.
Yeah.
Take a little step at a time. And that's how people will start to go, oh, this all makes sense. Like here lately, and I'm not making a statement on our president one way or another at all. What I'm saying is people that are vehemently, nobody should have AR-15. Well, what do you think about Donald Trump? Oh my God, he's a tyrant. He's Hitler. He's this, he's this, he's this. Do you know what happened last time Hitler took people's guns? Because that's basically what you're saying. And you see that light bulb moment. That's the Second Amendment.
Right.
That's what it's about. It's not about, protecting me from a mugger or getting a deer.
No, it's putting the ultimate power of government in the hands of the people where it belongs.
Yeah. And then the next question is, well, you're wanting to overthrow the government? No, I know there is a less than a 0.0009% chance I would ever have to use a firearm for that.
Right.
But the reason it's never happened is because it's there.
But the Second Amendment has come into play in the past and in recent history. The Bundy Ranch was a perfect example of that, where the BLM came in and was imposing a tax, which was not even approved by Congress. They were just levying, taxes against the ranchers, trying to force them off the land. And the Bundy family said, we're not paying the tax. And so they got into the hole about $1 million. And then the federal government showed up to basically take all their cattle, and a bunch of patriots showed up with firearms and said, no, you're not.
Right.
And that all ended well. Nobody got hurt. The Second Amendment did what it was intended to do. It stopped a tyrannical government from doing what it was getting ready to do. And it put the government back in its place. And here we all are, better off. Now, you take a look at what's going on in Florida right now with the election nonsense, and where you have them, hiding ballots and pushing media away and secreting off boxes of stuff in trucks in the middle of the night. And all this craziness that's going on, that happened after World War II in a place in Tennessee, and I forgot what they call it. They call it the Battle of something.
Somebody got it right here. Battle of Athens, Tennessee, 1948. Somebody typed it in as you're talking.
So the Battle of Athens in 1948, a bunch of military World War II veterans, the exact same thing happened. Election fraud was going on. The government was doing dirty things, and the people had enough. They rallied. They went to the National Guard Armory. They armed themselves. And they went there and they took control of those ballots. And that, again, you won't be taught that in high school. Mm-hmm. You have to seek that information out, because that is an application of our Second Amendment. Once again, Americans, given the ultimate power of government, stopped tyranny and corruption. And that is why we have a Second Amendment. And it should be taught as a good thing, not as a bad thing. But you'll have CNN spinning it as, oh my gosh, can you believe these nationalistic patriots are doing these crazy things and they're stopping election fraud? Oh my goodness, we can't have this,
and that's where things like your channel, your channel, Plinkster, Eric, Hickok, all these channels come at firearms from a different direction. And take the perfect example. You will speak a little more politics than Dave does. Mm-hmm. It is out that his name is Dave, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
It's his last name that we don't talk about.
Right, Dave Nash.
Dave Nash.
Yeah.
That's
so y'all's approach is different. Y'all have a lot of the same ideals, but Dave might get other people that were on the fence because he does trick shooting. Mm-hmm. It's like, ooh, that's neato. That's cool looking. And then maybe he does a review one day and they're like, well, that's kind of cool too. I'm interested in that. So no matter how people get into firearms, whether it's through video games, whether it's through, a trick shooting show, whether it's through a competition show on Discovery Channel talking about historical firearms, they're getting into it and embrace them and teach them the right ways and teach them. Here's the other thing. And a lot of people, even in our industry, and I'm not saying entertainment, I'm talking about firearms. Firearms is not a right-wing, left-wing thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have turned it into that, even on the firearm side.
Yeah.
They're like,
I say it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's not a Democrat or thing. It's a freedom thing. It's for all of us.
It's liberty. And I have friends, very close friends that I went to school with who are staunch Democrats, but they have an arsenal in their basement. But they're scared to go to ranges, and they're scared to talk about it with people, especially here in the South, because they'll turn around and say, well, I'm a Democrat, then they're all of a sudden pariahs. And well, you shouldn't be a gun person, because it's like, no, don't do that. Put your politics aside while you're talking Second Amendment. Argue about that stuff later. You know, Second Amendment, we're all together in it.
We need to be,
right. Exactly.
We have the politics in this country have always been bad. I mean, we think that they're bad now with politicians slinging, mud at each other and saying really awful things. It's nothing new, surprisingly. If you go back to Woodrow Wilson. I mean, politicians have outright attacked each other throughout history. But now we have all the talking heads on TV going, oh my gosh, this is the worst we've ever seen it. We can't believe what Donald Trump said, that she had a horse face, and like, oh my gosh, it's nothing new. But unfortunately, there's the problem with the two-party system, and our founding fathers warned us about it in a number of different ways, is that it becomes very divisive. It becomes it distills politics down into a team sport, and you have the Sox and the Cubbies, and you mix the two and they fight. They are devout, right? And and so you have Democrats, Republicans, and they absolutely hate each other. And when Donald Trump got elected, I mean, we had family members not show up to Christmas dinner because of it. Yeah. Because they voted for Hillary, and they knew that other people had voted. And so we have families unfriending each other on Facebook over it. We have people not showing up to Christmas dinner, just not even associating with other family members and good friends. And it's just mind-boggling. Yeah. And that only leads down a dark path. And it just seems like these television shows and talking heads are all too willing to keep stoking those fires that cause riots to break out after elections and stuff. But anyway,
and before the Secret Service comes talking to Tim or myself, I was not saying that Trump was a Nazi. I was using that as an example to teach people who think that why the Second Amendment is important.
Don't worry about it. They say it every day on CNN. They get a pass. They can be in Washington, D.C. with an illegal 30-round magazine and not go to jail for it. But if you and I go there and shoot a YouTube video with a 30-round magazine, we're not going to get shown any favoritism.
If we shoot a YouTube video with a 30-round magazine in our backyard now, we might get in trouble.
Well, YouTube will demonetize us for sure, because they're going through demonetizing every single video in my library now. If it wasn't for Patreon, I wouldn't be able to keep the channel open, because we have no money from YouTube anymore.
Yeah. That's sad, because there's been a few channels that have come up even in the last few years that were doing really good stuff, but there's no way for them to make money unless they already have a following. So they shut it down. And it's like, we could have had another good channel.
That's the whole point. YouTube is trying to run us off. They want to take our money away and make us go away. Yeah. And that's their strategy. And when we don't go away because we've monetized elsewhere, eventually they're just going to kick us off. But that's the unfortunate. So what you guys do at Master of Arms, showing how to make a sword, that will get you banned from YouTube. Yeah. Under the new policies, showing how to make a black powder pistol or rifle is.
Oh, so they're even in blades now.
Yeah, you cannot show. Well, actually, it's firearms. I don't think they say anything about blades, but their firearms policy. You cannot. I can't show putting an AR-15 trigger in a lower, because in their opinion, that's showing how to make the firearm more deadly. I can't even. You just can't put a box of parts and assemble them into an AR-15. Yeah. That's considered showing how to manufacture a weapon of mass destruction or some nonsense. But all those videos get deleted. And account strikes are given, and all of our videos are demonetized. This video is going to be demonetized because we're talking about firearms.
Well, and that kind of goes back to what I'm saying with the support. Not just support coming up to Tim and at a NRA convention or SHOT Show and being, hey, love your stuff. No, actually watch it, get the views up, spread the word about it. Same thing with our show. Watch the show, get the views up, spread the word. It sounds like I'm being selfish, but there's a bigger picture going on. It's Business is business. And when you have people that end up with a board of directors, YouTube's a little bit different, but they look at numbers. And if a channel or a show or a podcast or a radio show is getting high numbers, they'll keep it going because that's what they want. We have, what is it now, 130 million gun owners in the country?
Yeah, something like that.
So let's say, let's be very conservative, and let's say only half of those are staunch Second Amendment supporters, which it's probably more, but let's just be really low end. So that's what, 65 million? That's right. So if we get 10% of those staunch supporters to watch, and I'm just going to use us as an example, watch Master of Arms, that's 6.5 million people. 6.5 million people on a cable television show, we would be the #1 show on TV.
Yep.
And we have the numbers, we have the power. We can do stuff like this and make a statement and make a point and get things done like this if we do it. But a lot of times in our community, people will stand back from far and say, "Hey, good job, Tim. Like your channel. Oh, did you see the last video? No, I hadn't watched it in about a year." And they walk off. And it's kind of like, you know, our fight isn't always just us protesting or us going to marches or us getting in fights.
Right.
Sometimes it's this
emails or phone calls.
Right, or letters or emails or congressmen. Sometimes it's showing our power in the business sense, in the business world. You know, that's why companies like 511 are so freaking big. Because we support 511. So 511 turns around and supports us. They're used on every movie, TV show, everything. Like these cameramen and crew members that weren't necessarily gun people, they all had 511 pants on. And I'm sitting there grinning going, I know why you got those, because our community supported that company.
Yep.
And that's the kind of stuff that has to happen for bigger things, bigger picture things. And
we
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say,
and you know, from all the stuff I've done, that's always been my motive. If I'm going to do something, there's got to be a bigger picture that's going to happen, or I'm not going to do it. I'll half-ass it. You know, if I put everything I have into this, which I have, you know, I took a big risk. I resigned my role at the school to do this. Then I see something big, and there's a lot of potential, not just for our community, but for our country with the show. Even though it's on face value, it's a simple little competition show, but there's really a lot that could come from this long term. So
I was just going to say that we as a community actually are pretty powerful. You know, right after the tragedy in Vegas, there was a Congressman, Carbello in Florida, that immediately proposed a law that would ban bump stocks. And we in the YouTube sphere and the blogosphere immediately went after him and called him out. And he got so many phone calls to his office that we had his people calling my gun store trying to talk to me because they wanted it to stop. He wanted the congressman wanted to talk to me. And my response is, I have nothing to say to you. You know, you've betrayed the Second Amendment. You betrayed the Constitution. I have nothing to say to you. And so I wouldn't take his phone call. Well, guess who lost an election in this last midterm? So, there's another. So once again, you know, I can't say that Second Amendment people, you know, were the sole reason he lost the election, but I would say he blames a good portion of that whole episode because he was the focus of a lot of attention back then. For everybody. I would say that we as a community had a big role in his loss of an election. Now he's unemployed and good. He needs to go away. We need somebody in there that will uphold the Constitution and Bill of Rights. But anyway.
Gotcha.
Oh man. It's been what time is it here?
It's fun. We have gone 63 minutes. So
I actually have some work to do outside in the bitter cold.
You gotta go dressed like a teddy bear.
No, I'm not wearing that outfit. Oh man. But yeah, so I have to go out and you know, be myself and, you know, do my YouTube thing. So Man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and do a live stream, a hangout with us. I hope everybody watching had a good time.
Anytime,
are there any questions that popped up that you wanted to answer?
There's been a few, but it's been funny watching it because there'll be like pro Second Amendment comments, then there'll be debates on 308 versus 556, and then all of a sudden it'll be like serotonin or I can't remember what it said, but serotonin is the chemical release when you have an orgasm. I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, wow. And now, LOL, Tim in a teddy suit.
Well, there you go. It's not going to happen. Maybe for my Patrons, I may put it on just for them, but I'm not going to do it for the broader audience. I just do that to myself.
The common one is like when and where. So Discovery Channel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Discovery Channel, Friday nights, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. You can also go to Discovery Go app. You can go Discovery Channel website, but you can't do the website until like the day after or 2 days after, something like that. But yeah, those are the main places. If you can watch it on Friday night, if you're leaving the house and you're DVRing it, leave the TV on so it's playing. Even though you're not watching it, it looks like you're watching it.
And then when you get back home, watch it because it's going to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a fun show. I mean, it's really fun. Making it was a blast. I know we tried to get you up there and we couldn't. I mean, there was just the timing was all crisscross. But this next time we're gonna try to make it happen. We're pushing if we get season 2 for guest judges.
Ooh, I'd love to come out and do that.
Possibly have some people coming on and stand there watching with us for 6 hours.
I can do it.
Yeah. No, it's fun, man. And the people we got to meet, the craftsmen, that's what the show is about. This show is about the craftsmen, and the stuff they build and do with their hands is just amazing. It's the only thing that I can say to describe it. It's works of art that are like functional weapons. It's awesome.
I would love to meet folks like that because I am not, you put a tool in my hand. I mean, I think you use a pipe wrench to adjust the alignment on your car. It's like, I'm not mechanically inclined at all, but anyway, man. So guys, please do, try to watch the show Friday nights. If not, DVR it, watch it within 24 hours, or do as I did. Just Google Master of Arms. It'll pop right up the top. Click the link. It'll take you right to the show and all the episodes there. And like Zeke said, if when an episode goes live, 24 hours later, it'll pop on the website. So try to watch it. At least go check out one episode. I think you're going to be hooked, especially if you're a fan of Forged in Fire. This is like Forged in Fire, like on steroids. So at least that's how I describe it.
No steroids were used in the making of this
TV show. There we go. Right. We're going to have those legal disclaimers in there. Is there anything you want to say before we hit the stop broadcast button?
No, man. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it as always.
And I look forward to, I'm going to be down. I'm going to try to catch up with you. I'm going to be down there in Tennessee. I'll give you a call and we'll see if we can at least have a coffee or maybe lunch or something while we're passing through.
Absolutely.
You're not off being a movie star at the moment, right? You're home?
No, I'm sitting at home crying, hoping the ratings are good. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Keep watching those ratings, man. Don't just, it's like watching grass grow, man, or watching.
No, it is. Like I learned the first week, don't worry about it. Just
don't worry about
go. Because the show's good. Yeah.
It is good. It is good. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. If Forged from Fire is getting multiple seasons, you're going to be in there, man, because that is, I think it's even better. So, all right, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talking to you. All right. Bye, man.
Too.